On the card in this episode of Top of the Card, we're going to cover the question that I get asked the most frequently. What are my cards worth? As people are coming back and are finding cards they didn't know they had, or inheriting collections, or just getting back into the hobby, they want to know how much are the cards that they have worth. So we're going to cover everything about valuation in this episode of Top of the Card. We're going to go over all the factors for valuation, and we're going to cover how I value cards day to day at my job and for my collection as I collect. So without any further ado, let's put on the knowledge cap and let's go straight to the top of the card. And welcome back to Top of the Card right here on Ad-Free Shows and adfreeshows.com. I am your valet evaluation for this episode. I am referee Brandon Tolle. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate your time as always. As I like to say, time is the most finite thing we have in this world. And for you to take your time out to watch Top of the Card, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode so far. Hope you guys enjoyed the little select rip we did. That Pat McAfee ringside gold to 10. Ooh, that was a great hit. And we could talk valuation with that. Along with valuation here in the episode, first and foremost, if you are not subscribed to the Ad-Free Shows YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Go over there, click on the subscribe button, click on that thumbs up icon. Helps out, push the video out for visibility's sake, push it out to a wider audience, bring more people into the community. If you are not subscribed to the Patreon, patreon.com/adfreeshows, go join now, get early access to not only Top of the Card, but every other piece of content that is on the Ad-Free Shows platform, patreon.com/adfreeshows. All right, so we're going to talk about valuation in this episode. Valuation is the single biggest question, or most frequent question that I get asked, not only at work, but when I'm meeting new people and new collectors into the hobby. They're asking, what are my cards worth? We found out through the pandemic that a lot of people were either revisiting collections that they had just mothballed, just in their basement in bins or whatever for 10, 20 years, or people that are new to the hobby, coming in for the first time and they're just trying to get their feet wet and trying to learn what are the cards that they have worth, or if they're potentially buying a collection and just not familiar about how to put valuation to the cards that they're either looking to buy or currently own. So we're going to cover all of that here in this episode of Top of the Card. We're going to deep dive into it. We're going to talk about some of the factors that can apply for valuation. We're going to talk about some examples specifically into the wrestling hobby about cards that have sold recently from a valuation standpoint. And then what we're going to do, lastly, I'm going to show you the tool that I use for not only for my personal collection here in the studio, but while I'm at work as well, when potentially doing a deal at work or buying a card or selling a card, looking at what we use to value cards there as well. So we'll cover all of that. So first of all, let's start off in terms of valuation on cards. There's a lot of money. If you potentially with the right card at the right time, there can be a lot of money in cards. There are some people that I know within the sports card hobby in general that this is all they do for a living is cards, because they know what they're doing and they've just made the right choices and the right investments at the right time. But to put it all in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to give you the top up here for this. And I'm using sportsbrief.com as my reference point for this, because they actually have a very nice little graph off my side here. I have looked when it comes to the top selling sports cards, period. I'm not talking wrestling. I'm talking across all sports. So the most expensive, I guess, is the best way to put it. But the highest sale for a sports card in general, period, came in 2023, actually. It was the 1952 Mickey Mantle. And it went for just over $12 million, actually $12.6 million to be specific. When you're looking at the list down, you're looking at the 1952 Mantle, graded PSA 9 for $5.2 million. The same for the LeBron James 2003-2004, what we call a rookie patch auto. It's basically a rookie card with a piece of game used jersey and autographed together on the same card. $5.2 million. Down to Patrick Mahomes, since we're heading into football season, the Patrick Mahomes 2017 rookie auto with $4.3 million. So there is a lot of money to cover sports cards in general. In wrestling, we've actually had our highest sales on wrestling cards specifically ever here in 2023. And it's two of the same person, actually. The Rock, the great one. So 2022 Panini Prism, debut year Prism, his first card, period, from Panini. It was the Black Finite 101 PSA 7, so graded. And that's going to be important as we talk about factors when we go into valuation here in a minute. So PSA 7, 2022 Prism, Rock Black 101 in April, sold for $151,200. This is the first time that a wrestling card had ever cracked six figures for sale. And then back on August 31st, the 2022 Select, so debut year Panini Select 101, sold for $8,500. So a massive drop. Not to say drop, but a massive difference in terms of, obviously, you're looking $143,000 difference, and we'll go into that as well with it. But there is a big market out there, and even something as recent, the most recent AEW product, 2022. It came out in 23, but it's technically 2022. The 2022 Upper Deck Skybox Metal Universe, MJF, the current AEW World Heavyweight Champion. The what we call PMG or Precious Metal Gem, which is the big chase in Skybox Metal Universe, and hopefully we'll have some here on a future video here on top of the card. We want to cover AEW as well as WWE. But the 101 PMG was pulled about 4 or 5 days ago at time of recording. I'm estimating probably between $3,000 and $5,000, which will be the highest for an AEW card to date. So a big wide range in terms of what cards can potentially sell for. But, in the grand scheme of things, a box of 2022 Skybox Metal Universe at time of recording sells for about $140. So $140 turns into potentially between $3,000 and $5,000 if it goes for sale, if the current owner decides to sell it. There's a big opportunity to be able to really turn and cash in with the right card at the right time, under the right conditions. So let's cover all that. Step 2. The factors that can go into valuation of a card. First of all, condition. Graded versus ungraded. Now, there is a big difference because when you look in terms of valuation, you start putting exponentials on a potential sale value, graded versus ungraded. So if you get it, you take the time, you get it professionally graded by PSA or Beckett, preferably, you can start adding exponentials. And I'll give you a good example. From Select this year, I pulled a ringside level Stephanie McMahon tie-dye to 25. Got it graded from PSA. It got a PSA 10. Ungraded was selling for about $100. I sold my PSA 10 for $300. So you're looking at a 3X, basically, going from ungraded to graded. So there is a big difference. And you start getting into exponentials when you start looking at grading. And obviously, the higher the grade, obviously PSA 10 being the best you can go, gem mint, you start adding in those exponentials. Normally, on average, when you're looking at valuation from grading, this is not always going to be the case, especially with wrestling. There can be a big difference there. We'll give you an example for that as well. When you're talking about ungraded to a PSA 9, you're normally looking at basically doubling up your ungraded value to a PSA 9 value. And then PSA 10, you're looking at anywhere from 2.5 to 3 times the ungraded price. So that's Stephanie being the great example. 100 for ungraded, 300 I sold for at PSA 10 on eBay. So big difference there. Not always the rule, and I'll give you an example of where you can definitely have the exception and not the rule. The Ava Rain, actually, that we pulled on the video, and actually, if you want to check that out, I will put a little card right up there at the top of the screen for you to check out after you're done watching this, of course. But for the Ava Ring Gold Rookie to 10 from Prism this year, I got mine graded, got a PSA 9. Now, originally out of the gate, one had sold on eBay for about $1,500 to $1,600, and this is about a month after release. Well, it ended up not getting paid for, so it got relisted on eBay and sold for about $300 to $350, if I'm not mistaken. Big difference, especially when you're looking at grading valuation or valuation in general. Using your base at 1600, 1500 versus 300, 350. Well, I had mine listed, and I factored in a couple other things, and I kind of did a little bit of a roll of the dice with it because it is Ava Rain. It's the Rock's daughter. It is a gold, and from the wrestling collecting side of things, there is a little bit of a premium you can put on the gold parallels from Prism. I threw mine up at $1,000 on eBay. Be like, okay, we'll see what happens with it. I thought I could definitely get more than 350, and I did get a few offers at that. And someone ended up buying it at $1,000 on eBay. And I went to look after the fact, and the justification of it is that a PSA 10 had actually sold for $2,000 on eBay. So basically cutting that in half, going from 10 to 9 sounds about right, which means the person that got the ungraded at $350 got it for under what it should have been, basically, in the grand scheme of things. So kudos to them. And kudos for me. I held out. Just took me another couple of months. I just had it up on eBay. And then one Monday morning as I was going to work, I woke up and saw on my phone my little notification from eBay that it had sold and the buyer had paid $1,000 plus taxes. I was like, all right, let's go. So, there's always going to be the exception to the rule when you're going from graded to ungraded. The second thing you're going to look at with it is you're going to look at who's on the card, basically. What type of talent are you looking at, basically? Whether is it a legend or is it like Ava is a rookie? The talent that is on the card, whether it's a single or if it's, like a dual autograph, or is it just one talent, it's going to make a difference, especially from a popularity standpoint. Within wrestling, a lot of the legends are getting a lot of the love outside of the rookies. Parallels with that are a different story, but a lot of the legends. So one that I know that potentially could potentially fetch a real good amount. Buddy of mine, Ryan, Card Collector 2, out of Columbus, Ohio, actually pulled from Immaculate last year the dual auto of Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik, and it's the 1 of 1. And on-card autographs on both, and basically from what I've been able to gather, it was probably one of the last couple autos that the Iron Sheik signed prior to him leaving us. So I think he's putting it up on eBay, but that can potentially go for a pretty penny given the fact that the Iron Sheik's no longer with us. So, talent dependent with it. Obviously, your rookies are going to be able to command more. Braun Breaker from 22 is basically kind of leading the way in the rookie series for 2022. 23, it's basically Ava as standalone. Thea Hales get kind of running in a very distant number 2. When it comes to the rookies, but it's basically that, but it's Ava far and wide. A lot of people, with her still being in NXT, a lot of people are definitely playing the long game with Ava. I am too. I still have a couple of parallels of her, even though I sold the gold to 10. I basically wanted to take the opportunity to cash out on it and keep what I have for further investment. So the type of product is the third portion that you look at in terms of valuation. Putting that into the wrestling genre from Panini standpoint, Prism is number 1, basically. You're most likely going to get your highest values out of Prism, versus a Select, versus, an Immaculate. Immaculate could run up there as well, versus a Chronicles, versus a WWE Elite, which will be the new product coming out here in September of 2023 from Panini. So the type of product can definitely play into what your valuation's going to be. Okay. So the fourth thing you're looking at is going to be the number of prints. Basically, is it a parallel? Scarcity, I guess, is the best word that you can put in with it. The less there are of them, the more the market can potentially command for them. So that's something you got to look at as well when you're looking at valuation's sake, what could factor into it. Fifth thing, and this is going to be a little more relative than most, is going to be age. Obviously vintage cards. We covered the 82 Series A. There was a lot of money in those 82 Series A's, but the modern stuff, especially when you look at your autographs, basically the things that we didn't have in trading cards in the early to mid 80s, even into the 90s, all that stuff has come around in the past 20 years. So age is a relative one, but it can factor in, especially when you look at a lot of the 82 and the 85 stuff. So, and then the last thing is going to be rookie cards. Rookie cards are always going to be huge when it comes to your valuation. And that's just going to depend on the talent. Obviously, I mean, I could spend an hour going through what qualifies as each rookie card with it. But rookie cards definitely will carry more in terms of valuation over the long term. So those basically are kind of the 6 things you look at when it comes to what could factor into valuation. So now that we've covered all that, what I'm going to show you now, first of all, and I have some of my own here that we're going to look at. We'll use them as examples basically for how to grade. But what I will do is I will show you this. I'm going to show you the 2 sites basically that are used for valuation. One is one that you can use at home. And then the second one I'm going to show you is basically one that we use behind the scenes. Not everyone has access to it. It's called Terapeak from eBay, and I'll explain what that is here in a minute. So let's do this. Let me go ahead and we will go ahead and pull up. Let me go to eBay. Let's go ahead here and let's take a look at eBay. All right. So let me pull it up here. Let's go ahead and take a look at eBay. I'll show you eBay, and then I'll show you the other site. It's called 130 Point, and we'll address them both here in just a minute. All right, here we go. So we're going to show you basically the two main avenues of being able to look at for a real quick way to look and see what are my cards worth. So the first one, which is the public one, basically that everybody's going to have access to, it's called 130point.com. 130point.com is a great way of being able to look at eBay, which eBay, first of all, is basically the place that I send anybody to. When they're trying to figure out what their cards are worth, I send them to eBay, because when you look at cards nowadays, cards are basically looked at like commodities. They're looked at like stocks. They can move up and down on a daily basis. Many things can factor into what could change a price of a card over time. So having said that, I send everyone over to 130point.com. is the primary one. 130 Point, basically, it allows you to look and search eBay sales, and we've got it up here on the screen, so we say search eBay sales. It basically, what it will allow you to do is you can search for the card you want or the card you're trying to find a value on. And basically what it'll also show you is not only what they've sold for in an auction standpoint, but the thing that eBay itself doesn't show you is if you have it up and someone put in an offer for the card and the seller took it, you don't get to see on eBay's site proper, at least from the main portion of the search, what the card actually sold for. So I don't send people straight over to eBay. I send them to 130 Point, because 130 Point will show you what a card is sold for if it went on a best offer. So we're going to go to search eBay sales. And here we go. So what we're going to look at, and I will show it to you here. We'll bring you back over here real quick. So the card that we're going to look at here real quick, and I want to show you guys, it's from Select last year, 2022. It's one that I had. It's the first Undertaker auto that I have pulled, and we'll let the screen bring it up here. It is our Undertaker. There we go. It is my 2022 Undertaker Legendary Signatures PSA 10 that I have. So this is the first one we're going to start with. So let's go back over, and basically I'm to be honest with you, I'm actually kind of intrigued to see what it's worth. I haven't looked at the value of it in about a year. So since I got it back from PSA a year ago, so let's see. I think I know what it went for a year ago, but let's find out. So I'm going to be as specific as I can here. So I'm going to do 2022 Select WWE, and I'm going to put in Undertaker Legendary Signatures. I'm going to try PSA, just putting PSA behind it to see if it'll only bring up ones that are PSA graded to kind of help narrow it down for me. So here we go. Boom. Actually, that's actually really good. So we got it right in front of us right here. So your first one right here, Legendary Signatures PSA 10. And this is the best example I was just talking about a second ago. So the person that had it up, first of all, it sold September the 6th, 2023. So perfect. So that's actually date of recording today. So $360. So the person had it listed for $450. Someone put in a bid or an offer best offer at 360 and the seller took it. So it's showing me here 360, but it also allow me to go and look and see what else they've sold for recently as well, to see if maybe there's kind of a middle ground here. So you can see another PSA 10 for 240 August 21st, 350 August the 18th, but best offer, this third one here, as you can see right here, and I'll highlight it right here. It says auction number of bids. This one actually went on bids. So it went for 350 on bids. So whoever got this one on the 21st at 240 on a best offer actually got it for a pretty good steal, because if I was valuing this card, I see 159, but that's a PSA 9 right there. I see 350 and 360. Best offer at 360 and 350 on bids. That's pretty much going to tell me all I need. I can go back further, but honestly, there's your 3 or 4 most recent. Those are going to match. You're always going to try to get rid of your outliers and kind of look at what the overall is. But just for the sake of, as we're learning, we'll just take a look at the rest of these here. So there's a PSA 9, but that's actually the red one that's numbered to 99 from last year. So there's the gold, and that's actually a steal. So, but it's a PSA 8, and that's why it went for so low. So it's gold 10 of 10, but it's a PSA 8. So that's why I only went for 345. So the fact that my PSA 10 as a base auto is more than the gold 10 of 10 actually tells you something. So, and then now we're looking, there's some 2023 ones. 130 points, not going to get it right in terms of just showing exactly, but for the sake of this, we can take a look and see kind of what 2023 is going for as well. So $100, 112 for the Undertaker to 60, 135 for the auto to 35. Actually, pretty good pricing with it. Here you go. Gold 5 of 10, SGC 10. So SGC is basically like the number 3 grading company. You have PSA and you have Beckett, and then you have SGC. SGC has gained popularity over the past few years. It was originally more known for the vintage collectors to send cards to. Their grading was very, very good with vintage cards, but they've really delved a lot into modern. So, but it doesn't have the resale value that PSA would. If you're trying to get the max money you can out of grading a card, it is going to be PSA. Beckett is probably number 2. There's probably a little bit of distance there, but they're 1-2 for sure. SGC is a very distant third. So, it's still, the fact that my PSA 10 base is still more than what this gold 10 of 10 SGC 10 went for is wild looking at it. So that gives you over an idea of basically using 130 point and being able to kind of see what are my cards worth, full stop with it. So we use that one. We'll do one more here. And this is going to be a higher dollar one. I think I know what this one should be because I've been talking about it recently to some other collectors. It's the only one that I have. Let's see if I can get the zoom in right on this. But this is my Stone Cold Steve Austin. There we go. Signature moves from Immaculate 2022. It is numbered to 49. So this is my only Stone Cold Steve Austin auto that I have. But these have been going for a lot of money. The Immaculate set was very, very good when it came to not only photography, but with the sets and the insert sets with them. So I lucked out and found one person that was wanting to sell one of these last probably right on January this year, I think. December, January, right in that era. So let's go ahead. We'll go back and we'll use this one to show you the other property that I use. And now this one, let me preface this up front, okay? This one, you have to have a business account with eBay to get. It gives me a lot of advantages. Basically, I don't have to use 130 point at all because Terapeak through eBay, it's called Terapeak. Terapeak allows me to see what they've sold for regardless of whether it's best offer or bids. It shows me both and it doesn't decipher, like it doesn't weed out like using a basic eBay search. So I'll show you both of those here real quick and we'll use the Undertaker one to show you just a basic eBay search. So if you don't want to use 130 point and you want to go basically straight up to eBay, let's go ahead and let's take a look over at eBay. So eBay, I'm in. So basically the way you want to look for a general search on eBay, if you're not going to use 130 point is, and we'll use the Undertaker auto as the same idea here. So 2022, select WWE, Undertaker, and we're going to put legendary signatures in there. And then we're going to put PSA because we want to try to see just the PSAs again. So here you go. So it's going to show now $7,000 for the PSA 10 gold. Not worth, I'll tell you right now, not worth $7,000. We saw what PSA 9s and stuff were going for. I'd offer him probably $1,500, and that may be being generous, overpaying for it if I really wanted that. It's wild that was the first thing you show up. I'm like, yeah, that's my initial gut instinct is, yeah, that's not worth $7,000. So now, if you're doing a basic search just on eBay proper, go down the left-hand side here. This is what people are just asking. As you look down through these are just what people are asking for these cards and the prices that they have set for them. It's not what they've actually sold for. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions I see with people using eBay. It's like, well, this is listed for this. I'm like, well, it may be listed for this, but that's not what it actually sold for. So let's go find out to see what they've actually sold for, just like we did with 130 point. You're going to go down the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to go all the way down, almost towards the bottom here. It says show only right here. And then, I collapsed it down. You're going to click on sold items. Now, when you do that, it's also going to click on completed items. So it's only going to show us items that have already finished, whether it's auction or buy it now. So we're going to click on sold items and boom, there we go. So there's our so now here we go. Exactly what we were talking about. So we see over here on 130 point, we saw the 450, but it wasn't for 450 all the way up here at the top. So there's the 450 sale where they accepted the best offer of 360. If we go back over to eBay, it's just showing 450. So, which is not correct. We know one sold for less. So that's why I really send people over to 130 point, especially if you're really trying to dwell down with it. But if you're just wanting to look in a general sense, what you're going to look at, the second one here says PSA 10. It says $299. It has a line through it. Best offer accepted. So there you go. So, and then you can go down and look and see what other ones have sold. So, there's your PSA 8 that we saw earlier, and so on and so forth as we go down through the rest of them. Once again, it's going to show us a lot more than just the 2022 that we're looking for. So that's actually a pretty good deal right there on the 22 tie-dye to 25, actually. And that's August 28th. That wasn't that too long ago. So $200 for an Austin auto. Not bad. Not bad. So, all right. So that's kind of basically how to use a general eBay search. What I'm going to show you inside baseball here, I'm going to show you Terapeak. This is what I use because I do sell on eBay and I have an LLC. Basically, I have that tax ID as an LLC. I have access to Terapeak selling on eBay because I have the business account, and you have to have the tax ID number to be able to utilize Terapeak with eBay. It's a business only. So I'm going to go over here into selling, go into my eBay. You can see like $2,500 in the past 31 days. That's actually not bad. So, all right. So let's see here. So I'm going to go over to research, and then there's Terapeak product research. So what Terapeak is going to show me, Terapeak is going to show me everything we've shown you with 130 point and the basic eBay search, but it's going to be all in one area. And it's going to show me not only ones that have sold on auction, it's going to show me a buy it now. It's basically a one-stop shop. It's free for me as a business account with eBay, and it's fantastic. So we're going to use the Immaculate, the 2022 Immaculate Stone Cold Steve Austin auto as the example. So I'm going to be, with this, you got to be as descriptive as you can to be able to bring it up here to get your best results. So I'm going to do 2022 Panini Immaculate WWE, and then I'm going to put Stone Cold Steve Austin signature moves. See if that does it. There we go. Wow. So you've got July 9th, 2023, 362.76 and 455 March 23rd. That's actually a lot lower than I thought. So let's do this. Let's see if we can get something a little more broader, because I don't like only having one or two. I want more options than that. But you're going to start looking at, okay, this is going to give you some other options, some other of the autos from Immaculate. So let's see if we can find, so there's 500, but that's the all-time greats. Let's see here. It might have only been those two. Yeah. Yeah, let's try this. Do this. Let's see here. Signature. I know I would try to find more than one or two with this just because I don't think it's an accurate representation, but there's only going to be 49 of these in existence for this parallel. So let's see if maybe this helps. Yeah, it just gives me these two. So that's basically it. So 455 and 362, July 9, 362. I would say, obviously, it's probably going to be a little more than that. Try to meet in the middle around 400. So thankfully, I did a trade cash deal on this and did not pay what I valued it at back in December. It has come down a little bit in terms of the valuation, but there it is. Like it tells me here, one sold. This one sold on bids, and this one sold on bids as well. If it was another card that did not sell on bids, there would be a line through it. So that actually kind of shocked me a little bit because I could, this to me, this was valued at $1,000 back in. It was valued about $1,000 back in November, December. So it's almost halved, if not more. So, but that's the thing is it can flux over time with that. So just because it's at 362.76 now, something happens, it can jump right back up. So I don't like the fact when I'm looking through Terapeak, especially that there's one or two, because we can go over to the main eBay page and probably find a couple of those that are actually out there, and they're probably asking for more. You know what? Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and try that just to see what's up there. So 2022. Immaculate WE, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, this is just going to take me to the base one. So someone's asking, so someone has one listed for $650 or best offer. And that's to 49, the same one that I have right there. So 649. Someone's asking 750. That's kind of what I was expecting. Someone's asking, Burbank's asking 9 Burbank Sports Cards. They're the largest sports card shop in the country, out in suburban LA, Burbank, California. Obviously, Burbank Sports Cards. They're asking almost 950. That was honestly kind of what I was expecting. Give or take with it. So obviously the market has changed a little bit. It's softened up on this, and Immaculate, and Impeccable are basically the two high-end products within Panini. So you can kind of see the range of what they're asking for there, just to give you kind of a little bit of a background there. So we can do one more. So this last one will show you, and I know this one's going to come up cheaper just because I know what they're going for, and I'll try to get the best in. So this is from 2023 Prism. I bought this from one of the guys at the shop. He opened a hobby box. So they did a throwback auto set within Prism. We talked about it when we ripped Prism first off the line here on top of the card. I got the Hulk Hogan auto because it's a Hogan auto that I've been wanting. Because I didn't have one that's a licensed WWE auto, and it's $299. So I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it. So there you go. So the old 2012, 2013 throwback design for Hulk Hogan. And I love this old throwback design from Prism 2012-13. If you're a basketball collector or a basketball fan, you know what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and we'll go back over to Terapeak, and we'll do this last one, just one more example here with this. So if we're going over to Terapeak, but, these things change, and you can see where, a couple of months could be the difference of a couple $100. So, definitely you see how they can almost be treated like stocks in that endeavor. So I'm going to do 2023 Panini Prism WE Hulk Hogan throwback red, just because it's one. So there's your average. So here we go. Let me see here. Let me get my last dates up here. So $200, September 2nd, 171, July 7th, 203, 200, 212. I'm going to have to get this graded because 550 for a PSA 10, June the 19th, where June 15th, and that is, there you go. Probably forgot to silence my notifications there. That is the platform I stream on. Basically looking at, a $300 difference back in June graded PSA 10 versus ungraded. So you can definitely see the difference there, as we were talking about. Basically an exponential, as you're looking at, double or just a little more than double what the ungraded is for a PSA 10. So that basically kind of just gives you many examples. So once again, talent's gonna take into account the type of product it is, all those other factors. So that kind of gives you basically the overview as to how you value cards. What goes in to valuation? What are my cards worth? So we gave you some real live examples, stuff that's in my collection. And I have third-party collectibles insurance. So about every 6 months, I'm having to go through and basically re-up and basically revalue what my collection is worth. Because if I have to need to add to it, because Lord forbid something happened to my house or anything, my collectible insurance will give me market value for what my cards are. So just another thing I, as a hobbyist and as a collector working in the hobby, something I take advantage of. So that goes over what are my cards worth. So if you have any questions, throw it down in the comments below or hit us up at Top of Card on Twitter. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have with valuations. It may be time to do an Ask the Zebra and actually do maybe a live stream and start asking questions and get questions with that. And maybe go over valuation, or if there's any card specific questions you may have, things you can deep dive into a little bit. Maybe time to do that somewhere down the line. Let me know what you think. If you guys want that, throw that in the comments below. So other than that, that does it for us here on this episode of Top of the Card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate the time, as always. Like I say it, I've got some plans coming up here for the next content videos, the next 2 or 3. We're going to start getting back into some older product rips, hopefully. Got a couple things on order, some other stuff we're working on, but we're going to get back into some older product grips. We're also going to talk about grading as well, especially because we've talked about from a valuation standpoint, graded versus ungraded. We're going to deep dive into grading. I'm hoping that the idea that I have for that works, so we can go in and maybe have a special guest to talk about grading with it. When it's all said and done, you guys will hear about it on Patreon if you're subscribed to the Patreon, or Top of Card on Twitter. Guys, go give me a follow over there, and that'll do it. So for me to you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys on the next one. Round and third, heading for home. We'll see you on the next one.